Last week we talked at length about iPads, which we both love. Welcome back to the team, Greg.
Thanks.
And
Happy to be back.
yep. Then we moved into a heavier conversation about the dark side of tech and the way people and the media kind of demonize technology. Right? It was a little philosophical, but Greg and I we both shared our opinions on it, and it was a good conversation. And I encourage everyone to go back and listen to it. Bit of a long one. I apologize for the such a long episode, but the conversation was so good. We enjoyed it so much. We didn't realize that we were approaching 2 hours. So we had to leave a few things out of the show last week. So this week, what I'm thinking is we're going to do some catch up. So first, I want to talk about the things that we didn't talk about last week, and that includes Greg's um, um, demo that he took of the Vision Pro. That was a pretty good experience. Did he leave the store with a Vision Pro? We'll find out today. We'll talk about that. Also, we had a viewer reach out to us in the comments and talked about uh, his thoughts on the purchase of his next iPad. He kind of shared some of the things that he uses it for, or this current setup now and things. So, of course, Greg and I have opinions. We're going to share those opinions on what
What
we
are you
feel.
talking about? We have opinions.
We have some opinions on it. There's some suggestions, just to kind of uh, uh, help with his tech build out and things like that to help him better along with his job and his company that he's working. So finally, the second half of the show, we're going to go back to the past like we did in previous episodes and talk about the movies that made us the grown geek men that we are today. How's that sound, Greg?
I think it's funny because I had to ask Jason, what do you mean by geek? And he's like, well, the movies that got us into this stuff. And then he had to clarify, let's do the ones that are tech or sci-fi oriented. So even with sci-fi, I had to think about tech. So I've got this really big
Right.
list, but I think I narrowed it down to just a few. So
Yeah. So if that sounds good to you, then you're in the right place. This is the Gadgets for Family Tech Show, where you get two old men talking and sharing their opinions on not just what we want out of tech, but what you should be buying too. So I'm your host, Jay Benjamin.
and I'm your host, Greg Cunningham, and I'm excited. This will be a fun show.
Yeah, I think so. As you see, Greg is outside and he's wearing
Mm-hmm.
a hoodie. So obviously the temperature is not Houston temperatures for the morning down there. What's the temperature like?
We got down into the upper 40s overnight. And when I came out here this
Wow.
morning and started setting up, it was in the 50s. And I think it's going to be in the 60s at the most the whole time we record. So the hoodie's on. We'll see if I have to
Okay.
shed it at some point. But I'm also kind of nestled back here. It doesn't look like it, but I'm in the shade and kind of nestled in the trees. So, yeah, super excited to be recording here.
Yeah, it's good to be recording outside. It is still too hot to go outside, even in the morning here. I think our late nights we get down into about the 80s. So so a little change of pace up there. So, but before we get started, don't forget to do the whole like, subscribe, share YouTube thing. We really appreciate you guys listening. But even if you weren't listening, we probably would still do this anyway because we have so much fun. It's an outlet for us. We worked in technology for so many years, and getting away from it from our full-time jobs, our full-time careers and family and stuff, it feels good to get back to tech and to stay up on industry things and the latest technology and the latest software and things like that. So we probably would still do it anyway, but thank you guys for watching and coming along for the ride. So please
That's also the excuse we use
subscribe, share.
That's the excuse we use. If you see an edit that's not perfect or the audio struggles or you saw some of the issues that we've had, that's also why we use Riverside, because it makes things so simple. This is just fun for us. And so if things aren't quite up to Marquez Brownlee standards, well, guess what? It's just the two of us. So he's got a staff of 15, Jason. 15. He had a post or a
15.
video or something that he dropped about how he makes his money. And that's one thing that I
Mm-hmm.
noticed. He's got a staff of 15 people.
Wow. So he has the help. He doesn't have a choice but to look like perfection every time they drop. But yeah, it's just us two guys. And Greg does most of the editing and all of the work, and not most of it, all of it. So we really appreciate that. So, but it's still, I think it's still a really good looking show. Hey, I remember when Marquez started off, it was just him and his phone.
Yeah.
Remember, just him and the camera.
Yep.
So it was quite the journey, but and he's built quite the empire. But yeah, yeah, one day. So do some quick catch up. I didn't realize how many, and I was mistaken. But I thought some of my close friends and neighbors shared an anniversary week with my wife and I. But Greg's and his wife anniversary is actually in August. They were celebrating a birthday earlier this week, but I thought it was an anniversary. But shout out to Greg and Karen celebrating 32 years in August this year.
Yeah. I wish it was
Uh,
32. It's not. Don't take away my years. It'll be 28 in August.
28 years. Okay, 28 years. I thought he had mentioned before that it was 32 years,
Jason's
but
trying to
28
make
years
me
is
older
still
than
a
I
long.
am. I'm old, but not that old.
Well, you'll be 32 years before in no time before you know it. So, Wendy and myself, we're celebrating 16 years. We just it's we're thankful. I don't want anybody to think that I'm complaining. Greg and I had a conversation this week about why we weren't, celebrating by going out or going somewhere. We had a brief conversation about that, and the funny part is, my wife was having that same conversation with a couple of different friends of ours on the opposite side. Like, why aren't you guys doing anything? But I digress on that. We celebrated 16 years, and my neighbor down to about three houses down from us across, they're celebrating 21 years. So congratulations to George and Esmeralda for celebrating 21 years. And funny thing with them, we've been close neighbors for years when we moved in, but her and my wife, they were pregnant at the same time. And when we got home from the hospital with our son, my middle son, we saw the balloons on their garage, on their mailbox. They were going to the hospital that day. So their daughter and my son, they were really close. They were really, really close when they were young, toddlers and stuff, spent a lot of time together. Then, of course, our career changed. We started focusing more on the company. He went to a charter school here in Houston, and she stayed in Aldine. So they kind of drifted apart and all of that. But now that he's back in Aldine, they're back together, joined at the hip. They even work together for the company sometimes, some weekends. So yeah, really, really close friends of ours, and we really appreciate all you guys and congratulations. So there's there the current stuff. We didn't have anything really that we wanted to cover, right? This slow news week after WWDC. A lot of gaming stuff came out, but not really anything to cover. So we're just gonna move right into our tiny tip. Greg, you had a tiny tip for us this week?
I do. So I've got this new e-bike, and so one of the things I really, really liked about my regular mountain bike is that the down tube on it was hollow, and it actually had a door for a compartment, so you could store stuff in it. So I had a little.
Okay.
They have a bag that's designed to fit up in there, and I had some tools and repair stuff, and an air tag
Okay, so a little
inside that.
compartment, a little tiny
No, it's the
compartment,
whole
not
tube. I
not
mean, I
like a
can.
big.
It's not very big around, but it's pretty long, right? I mean, it's the length of the
So as
tube on
long
the
as it
mountain
can,
bike. Fit
okay,
an
so you can
opening.
fold it up or wrap it up and
Yep.
stuff it
Yeah,
down
yeah,
in
yeah.
there. Okay,
Yep.
okay,
So I really like that. But when you move to an e-bike, that's where the battery is. So no compartment.
okay.
And I don't like to attach bags and stuff, although I did see a couple of mountain bikes this week that had bags on the front on the handlebars, so it looked pretty cool. But
Mm-hmm.
also I wanted an air tag on this bike, right? Because I don't want it
Right.
wandering off.
Right.
And it does have a built-in, like if you've got it turned on, and like I did a ride the other day and I parked it outside of a restroom, I was able to lock the motor so the motor won't turn on without a pin code, which is kind of cool. So if somebody
Oh,
takes it,
cool.
it's pretty useless. So
Yeah, it's
and
useless.
it'll
They have
yell
to
at them.
pedal it like a.
Yeah. And
Okay.
these things are not designed to pedal. So anyway, so I wanted an AirTag for this, and they have some that are like they look like your rear reflector light that you could put on the back of the seat, but I'm a mountain biker. I can't have rear reflectors.
Right.
So I looked, and this company had one it's a two-part shell, and it actually mounts between your bottle cage and the frame of the bike.
Okay.
So apologies, I'm going to be wiping my nose a lot because it's a little bit cold. But anyway, so
Yeah.
it mounts between the bottle cage and the frame of the bike, and it looks just as if you've just got your bottle cage mounted on there. And so I bought one of those, and like I said, it's a two-piece, so it makes it waterproof. So it's sealed, so it doesn't matter if it gets wet or any of those kinds of things, and you really can't tell that it's sitting there. You just kind of think it, especially I've got a little bit different holder for my bottle cage. You just kind of think
Right.
that's what it is. So that's where the AirTag is. There's one other place you could put it. It's up in the where the handlebars go into the frame. The empty space there, and they make cork kind of things you could put in there. Problem is it's all
Okay.
steel, and the signal doesn't make it out, so you can't find it. So
Right.
you can't tell it's in there, but also you can't get the signal because they're just not that strong, right? I mean, it's very, very
Right.
small Bluetooth LE stuff. So anyway, so I've got this one on there, but I went to install it, and um, it comes with security screws. So the tool is a star wrench, but it's different. And so in
Okay.
theory, even if somebody noticed it was on there, if they just had a standard set of tools, there's no way they could get it off without doing some major
Okay.
damage to it or the bike,
Right.
or and
Right.
then it takes time, right? So it's just a discouragement thing. Excuse me, but I went to put that on and I thought, what am I going to do if I lose this custom wrench?
Right.
So,
Right.
but anyway, it's on there. I love it. If anybody's interested, let me know and I'll send you a link to the one. But if you just search bike AirTag holders, there's all kinds of options, and I really, really like this one. So it wasn't very expensive either.
Okay. Man, it
AirTag
sounds pretty cool,
all
except
the
for the
things.
downside.
Yeah,
Yeah.
AirTag all the things.
Yeah.
So when I went to the Apple store last week, I just bought a pack of 4. Right? It's
Yeah.
just like I know Karen doesn't have one on her keys yet, so she's gonna do one there. If she decides to get a little bag to go back and forth between our house and the kids' house, then we'll throw an AirTag in that bag so she always knows where it's at because that's where her iPad and stuff is gonna be. I just bought another 4-pack. I mean, it's the most functional, cheapest Apple product you can buy.
Yeah. Yeah. Really, really cool. So, sort of that I didn't mention last week while we were talking about the downside of tech and all that. Now, this is not necessarily an AirTag, but it's similar technology. So we were running long on time. Of course, that's why we split the show with some of the topics this week. But there was a kid riding a bike, had his AirPods in. I don't know if you heard the story, Greg, or read this story.
Mm-mm.
Um, he got hit by a drunk driver, and it was a hit and run that knocked him down, and he fell out on the ground. Driver saw what was going on, kept going. Wrecked his bike up, sent him to the hospital. He was in the hospital for like 3 days. It was really, really bad. Um, didn't get a good description of the hit and run driver. It went so quick. There were witnesses and everything, but nobody could give license plate or anything like that. They had a description of the vehicle, but he kept going. So while he was in the hospital, I think he said like on the third day or the day he was released or something like that, he tracked his AirPods because he had his AirPods in and lost them. Well, the driver hit him so hard, he went to the ground. One of his AirPods flew into the guy's car, into the into the passenger seat in the car, and that's how they were able to track and find the drunk driver. Went to his house, arrested him, of course, for felony hit and run and all of that. And yeah, yeah. So technology can be used. That was unintentional, right? What were the
Right.
chances that the AirPod flew into the guy's car? But still same technology that just like tracking your very expensive e-bike or very expensive grill that seemed to have wandered off from your home or something like that. So these are the stories that don't get sensationalized. A really cool story that gets passed around the geek sites and the tech sites and all that, but it'll never be on the national news. The only type of stories you would hear or are the jealous boyfriend or something like that, or
Yeah, the
someone following
stalkers.
someone home from the bar. Yeah, the stalkers and stuff like that. So I thought that was a really cool story. I'm glad the kid is okay, and it all worked out in the end. And I believe they mentioned he did get some new AirPods, some an upgraded version of his AirPods and stuff. So yeah, yeah, AirTags really underrated, but it shouldn't be really. But it is a really underrated device, and I think it was just all the bad press that it got. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I
get
mean,
some AirTags, really reasonable.
the whole Find My system is great, right? I mean, the fact that
Right?
without exposing people's locations and stuff like that, that you can track your devices. That's why you can find AirTags in luggage, is because it just pings on, somebody else's cell phone, and you don't know
Yep.
whose cell phone it's pinging on, so you can't track that person, but you can track your stuff. So it's probably a topic for another
Yeah.
show, but I love it. I love the fact that I can track my stuff, my family, all that kind of stuff. So anyway,
Yeah. All right. So let's jump into the main topic for today. So I thought we'll start off with Kurt Lyon. I'm guessing that's his name, or that's at least his the username that he used. Greg, you want to read the
yeah.
comment?
Yeah,
Okay.
so we got a comment from on the YouTube video, and really appreciate that kind of stuff. And I saw it, and I thought, you know what, we should talk about this one. So um, let me go back, and sorry, I didn't have that pulled up. And
Yeah, I'm sorry. I should have brought it up before we start recording it that we were going to read the comment. But um, while you're finding that, though, I would share that we ask you guys to comment and stuff every week. We get a lot of direct messages from friends and families that ask us questions, and we try to answer those questions. But when you put these in the comments in the on the videos or even on the podcast or things like that, we like to answer those directly because we really take this seriously. Like Greg and I, we were in a position to where we had to make decisions for some pretty important people for the company and stuff. So we didn't take decisions lightly when it came to getting someone prepared to do their jobs. Um, People would always ask us like, "Hey, I need to be able to do this, this, and that," or we would ask them. They would say, "Oh, we want this new product. We see the new iPad Air came out. Do we want?" Okay, well, let's talk about your job. What requirements do you have for your job? What do you need to be able to get things done? You work on the weekends. You work at airports and things like that. And we had to make decisions based on all of that information to find that person the best technology. So, um,
unless they were an
yeah, we take
executive,
this seriously.
if they were an executive, you just
Well,
bought them the latest and greatest, the best that you could buy, and you just called it good,
right,
right?
we did, but there still was some thought put into it, right?
Yeah,
There was, especially when it came to one of the questions you put in here was about, do
yeah,
they go MiFi? Do they go?
yeah.
And there were certain execs that we just didn't want to add so many steps to, right? So depending on the age of that person or the tech savviness of that person, we eliminated devices. We eliminated having to carry around a MiFi, having to carry around extra chargers or extra, just extra stuff.
Yep.
We really kept it simple. So, but yeah, yeah,
All right, so
we take this
I've got
stuff seriously. So,
the comment up. So here's what I'll skip a little bit of it, but he says, I've been patiently
yeah,
waiting for WWDC and the new car smell to wear off the new iPads. The smell is pretty good, by the way. To pull the
yeah,
trigger on an iPad 2024. I love that you were two normal dudes. Thank you. Having a normal
yeah. We try
conversation,
to be.
talking through this decision making process. I've been staring at the iPad Pro 13 512. So here's the use case. My use case puts me in a position where I use Zoom and Teams a lot for what I do, often with my wife along my side. Very cool, as we work with couples. So we're not on a headset, AirPods, and sound and microphones are important to me, especially as a guy who is hearing impaired. We are a mobile couple who are probably 50-50 home or on the road when we are connecting with people. So there's some questions embedded in there, but that wasn't his real question. The real question was, would love your thoughts on getting cellular or not. I have an iPhone 15 Pro Max unlimited plan. So is it better to hotspot or cellular? Bear in mind, I have a little Android tablet on a cell plan that I would just move to the iPad. So the real question, and I know Jason wants to talk about device recommendation here too, but his big question was to cellular or not to cellular. That is the question. There's your dad joke for the day.
Right. We have to include it in there somewhere. So I would agree. Well, I don't. I guess I don't know if you would recommend take, but him going cellular. I would recommend him going cellular, um, especially when you're mobile like that. You want to eliminate as many devices, extra devices as you can. You're gonna have your phone anyway, which was my use case, right? I considered going cellular, but I always have my phone with me, so it's nothing for me to just hotspot or tether from my phone. With it being built in, though, you eliminate the issues of having to maintain the battery on your device, right? If you run into a long Zoom call and you have that, you eliminate the need to have to set that phone on the windowsill. I remember Greg, you recording from one location where you had to. Oh, it was in your
Yeah.
trailer. It was one of those
It's actually here
campgrounds,
at this
and you had
it's
to take
actually
your
here at
phone.
this camp spot. It's this camp spot where the
Okay.
hotspot that I had to be set on the other side of the trailer in the windowsill in the perfect position.
Right, right. So if you know you run into a spot like that where you have your signal struggling and stuff, so then you have to worry about the battery on the hotspot or on your phone or on the device too while you're taking this long call. If you eliminate all of that and just put
Yeah.
cellular on the device, you can not have to worry about those two devices, those other two devices, or your phone. And in this case, you're saying your phone, not an extra Wi-Fi, but you can
Yeah.
keep that phone out of the equation and do everything. I don't know, Greg. What do you think about that?
Yeah, let me break this down a little bit. So for Jason, yes, his iPad is his primary device, but Jason, for the
Right.
most part, when he's out and about, doesn't need a computer to run his company and to do the things that he
Yeah.
needs to do, right? He can do almost all of it from his phone. So when
Right.
you talk about tethering, Jason, and connecting up to your phone, it's for something quick and easy, right? It's not,
Yes.
I'm getting on a video call with another person by my side and talking
Yeah.
to people on the other end, which we're making the assumption that this is his business, right? That this is how he earns a living.
Right.
So the problem with trying to tether there is the stability, right? It's not the speed. So you can run a speed test, especially if you're in a 5G ultra wideband area or something like that, right? You can run a speed test and get
Yes.
sufficient speeds. The problem is the stability. You won't maintain those speeds tethered, right? And there's all these factors. What else is going on your phone? What else is going on your tablet? What is the network doing at the time? All of those things are going to factor in, and you're just not going to get the stability. Back when we first started doing work
Yeah.
from home, we used to discourage people from getting wasn't what was it called? I can't even remember what it was called. We
It
used
was
to encourage people to
satellite and cellular.
satellite cellular, but also the I can't remember. There was cable internet, and then there was the other one that came through the phone lines, not dial up, but the kind
The
that came through the phone lines.
ADSL.
Yeah, so we used to encourage
DSL.
people to go to cable. Yeah, because
Mm-hmm.
cable was so much more stable than what was running through the phone lines because it wasn't just about the speeds,
Right.
it was about that stability so your calls aren't dropping and that kind of stuff. So, Jason, that's your scenario, right? If you're going to tether, it's going to be brief, it's not going to be a big deal, no problem.
Yes.
For my use case,
And also
I didn't
too,
go
me being in Houston. Oh, I'm
yeah.
sorry. Go ahead. I was
Yeah,
just saying, me
no.
being in Houston, I have Wi-Fi, even with through AT&T when I'm out at the store, when I'm at restaurants, when there's an AT&T
Right.
signal somewhere close. One of the
Right.
benefits of being in Houston.
Yeah. And then for me, I didn't go with cellular on my iPad because I have my MacBook, right?
Right.
And it doesn't have built-in cellular. And so I'm going to have a hotspot. I just am, because if I need to use my MacBook on something, I'm not going to tether it to my phone. I tried uploading one of our videos even on the hotspot, and it was troublesome, let alone on the phone. So I didn't go with that. So when we think about the Kurt Lyon, the username again, right? I think about his use case. He's on video. That's the important thing. You want to have high quality video. He wants good speakers. He wants good sound, which implies he wants good, stable video connection. Doesn't do any good to be dropping or cutting out or buffering every 30 seconds or something like that. So in that case, he doesn't talk about whether he's got a MacBook or anything else. If they're really using the iPad for it, yep, put the cellular right in the device. Don't worry about any other connections. It's the only thing that's going to be pulling it down. There won't be any other activity on it. That's definitely the way to go. But this is how you have to think through these use cases: is how am I going to use it, and what am I going to do with it? And I'll tell you, I've got that hotspot, but it's like $20 a month. Right. So it's not like I'm paying $80 a month for that hotspot. If I was, I wouldn't keep it anymore, because now I've got my T-Mobile internet that goes with me everywhere my house goes. So, how often am I really going to need it? And that's something that I'll evaluate. So take that Android tablet. Sorry about the Android tablet. Take it, move the cellular plan to the iPad, and go.
Yeah. So also, and the comment too, he mentioned he had his eyes on the iPad Pro. I didn't agree with that 100%. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to discourage you from getting the Pro because I have the Pro. But keep in mind, the 512 iPad Air is still. I was meaning to get the price difference.
I already
but
know
I'm
this.
sure it's quite.
Remember,
it's a few $100.
I just went through this, Jason. This is why I'm surprised you're making this recommendation, because you recommended the exact opposite to me, right? So it's $400.
Was it the?
It's
Okay,
$400.
but the cellular version too. The cellular version.
Well, the
I was
cellular
assuming
is
it's
the
going to be
same.
about
The
$200.
cellular upgrade is the same on all of the devices, right? It's 199, 159, whatever it is. The cellular upgrade, I think, is exactly the same. I'll spec it out real fast, but I think it's the same amount to upgrade to cellular on either one. So
so I was thinking, the $200 difference, but after I thought about it for a while, I was going to recommend the Air. After I thought about it, I remembered the part where he said him and his wife, they both take calls with the new camera position on the Pro, with it being in landscape mode in the center with center stage. I think that'll be perfect for both of them. So I'm going to keep my recommendation as the Pro 512 cellular. But if you agree with that, before we move on to accessories.
Yeah, so it's $150 on the iPad Air to add cellular.
Okay.
And on the iPad Pro to add cellular, sorry, I had to hit extra things. It's $200. So you're going to be talking a $450 difference, right?
Yeah.
So $50 more than the conversation or the decision that I had to make. So I'm with you. You're going to get Face ID. You're going to get the way better screen. You're going to get the ProMotion. You're going to get all of those things that make the display better, and Face ID, all of that kind of stuff. So if video is your primary thing, and that was one of the reasons I wanted the nicer screen too, right? Was for video, not video calls, but entertainment video. So I think that Pro is great. Just decide what level of storage. If you don't need the terabyte, then you can decide on 256 or 512, depending on how much you need to actually store on the device. So, yeah.
I'm with you on that. So I'm going to stick with that recommendation too. The 512 cellular iPad Pro. I think it'll be perfect for your wife and you to take video calls, and like I said, with center stage, switching back and forth between both of you guys talking. That's going to be perfect. Now, as far as accessories go, he mentioned he was hearing impaired, but he doesn't wear earphones, things like that. Is it because and we're just speculating. We didn't have a conversation with Kurt or anything. I'm guessing maybe he has an hearing aid or something like that. Wouldn't some canned earphones, not necessarily the AirPod Pros, but um, something like that that go over. Would you think that would be better? Or maybe
Yeah,
they
I
have
mean,
some kind of limitation on what they want to show on camera. You know what I mean?
yeah, there
Maybe they
could be
don't
that.
want to have the big.
I
Yeah.
also followed up with him and suggested that they try audio sharing, right? Because you can do that with Apple headphones. And he came back and said
Right.
his wife is not a fan of headphones. So if one's going to wear them, then they both are going to have
Oh, his
to.
wife was not a fan.
Yeah, his wife wasn't a fan of them.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but he was going to have that conversation because, I got thinking, yeah, I mean, that would make the audio quality even better for both of them, both from an input and an output standpoint. Because even just using AirPods
Right.
Pro, the quality is really good. Now, the one thing I mentioned in the comments, and y'all can go see the comments back and forth on last week's video, but a few years ago when I tried doing audio sharing with my wife on a call with my son who was overseas on a church mission, um, the the hearing him was fine, but only one microphone would work. So only the primary microphone
Right.
would work. So I had my AirPods in, she had her AirPods in, and they were both AirPods Pros. So I don't know if they fixed that or not, where both microphones can be active at the same time. Really, that audio sharing is designed for we're going to watch a movie on a single screen, and we both want to be able to hear what's going on. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think that's a good suggestion. If they're willing to do that and the audio sharing will work, then pick the right headphones. He probably already knows the right headphones that are good for him. But I mean, I love my AirPods Max that I'm wearing right now.
iPod my Max, not Pros. The Maxes.
Yeah,
That's right.
or Pro
I
Max or
said
whatever
Pros.
they're called. But I love these.
Yeah.
They're a little heavy for sure. So if you were on 8 hours of
Hmm.
calls, one, the battery wouldn't last, and two, I think they'd be too heavy. But yeah, I would suggest looking into something to improve that audio, both the microphone and the
Right.
what you're hearing.
So there's one more thing too. Not so much of hearing the audio, but the speakers on the new iPad Pro, they're pretty great in a quiet environment. If you're outside or if there's any, even if there's birds chirping, it probably they're probably not that good. They are awesome speakers in a controlled environment. So if you're taking a video call inside or in your car or truck or whatever, um, those speakers would be fine. Microphone, there's and we bought one for my daughter. They're uh, like what do you call those? Those lapel microphones, right? Little tiny microphones. You connect them here, and two of them will pair to a single little dongle that you'll plug into your USB-C port on the iPad, and that'll both give you microphones where they can hear you clearly. They
Yeah,
sound really good. Um, so those lapel microphones, I mean, and they range from $15 to 100 or $200. So there's all different levels of quality to them. Find the one that works best for you. But they're dual microphone. Or you can just type in iPad or iPhone like dual microphone or something, in Amazon, and you'll see tons and tons of choices. And pick the one in your price range, but they sound really good, especially in controlled environments.
okay.
Maybe the ones that are more expensive will do better outside and things like that. But yeah, yeah.
All right, I have another suggestion. I just
What were you
thought of
saying?
this. I don't know why I didn't think of this
Yeah,
before. If
yeah.
you don't want to wear headphones, search on Amazon for Anchor conference phone or conference speaker.
Right, right.
And
Yeah,
I've had two of these. I've had two generations of these. And we bought one for church when we were doing church over Zoom that we still use, like when the little kids go up and sing or there's a choir number or something like that. But it's, what is it, like 4 inches by 4 inches, about an inch and a half thick. It's Bluetooth or USB C. So I'm assuming you could plug it into the USB C port on the iPad. Haven't tested that, but I would look at one of those. You are going to spend a couple $100 for it, but it is so worth it. When at both of my last real jobs, when I was on the phone all day long, that's what I used. I just use that conference speaker.
so
It's got all the noise cancellation you're going to want. I mean, if I had it on right now, you wouldn't be able to hear the birds in the background and that kind of stuff here. I can't believe I didn't think of that, Jason. There you go. That's an awesome solution if you don't want headphones.
Right, right. So I'm looking at it now because I wasn't sure how portable it was. I'm looking at one, the PowerConf
Yep.
S33, no, S330 USB speaker conference microphone from Anchor. So this is probably not the one that you're talking about. I see the one that you're talking about. That one's $100 with a $10 off coupon. This one is it has a USB-C adapter. Well, it has a USB-C connector on it with a USB-A adapter. But you won't need that for the USB-C. This one's $59, a limited time deal now. So it probably won't be maybe by the time you listen to the episode, but yeah, good solution, Greg. Tiny,
Yeah.
tiny. You just plug it in.
Yep. The last one I had is the Anchor PowerConf speakerphone Zoom certified conference speaker, 6 mics, 360 enhanced voice pickup, 24-hour call time, Bluetooth 5.3, USB-C. You can get it in black or blue, take your pick. The black one's on sale right now for $99. This is the one that I still have in my box that I would use. I can't recommend this one strongly enough. And again, it's
Right.
maybe 1.5 inches thick and 4 inches by 4 inches. Comes in a nice little case. I can't believe I didn't think of something like that. That's been my go-to
Yeah,
for like
yeah.
5 years.
But that's why we love this stuff, you guys. That's why I said when Greg was looking earlier, we take this stuff seriously. This is not just stuff that we just Google. I'm going to recommend this. This is something that Greg's used already. He can vouch for the quality of this product, which is why he said Anchor. We usually only recommend a few brands when we talk about accessories and stuff like that. So yeah, it slipped your mind, but you got it in time. So
There we
no,
go.
good. I think this without all of the AirPods and the AirPod Maxes and buying
Yeah.
the lapel mics and stuff like that. This is the solution. The iPad and this will get you through any conference call.
Yep, I agree.
So uh, I think we probably gave him our opinions enough. Gave him enough to think about. So without going into too much other stuff, definitely a good carrying case. Um, Now something like a laptop backpack, so you can keep this. Keep your iPad, keep your Anchor conference microphone and stuff in, any wires and other accessories.
Yep.
So something to carry all of that around with you.
I'm
Maybe
gonna
some
have
kind of stand or mount for the
Yep.
vehicle.
I'll have a
So
recommendation on a case next week.
okay, cool. We'll add that. Um, some kind of mount. I don't know about. I see so many mounts that attach to your AC. Um, the AC vents, and I've seen them for tablets and phones and stuff like that. Um, I don't know how you feel about your vehicle, stuff like that. I would throw in my truck in an instance. I don't mind sticking stuff on the dash and sticking stuff, but when I get in my wife's truck, I don't like connecting anything that's gonna have too
Yeah.
much weight or maybe pull out the vent or break the vent or something. I care about her vehicle a little bit more than mine. So, but definitely a mount or something, maybe some kind of dash mount, one of those non-slip ones that'll hold the iPad up, that'll be, eye level for you and your wife in the center console. Again, you'll have to choose that for your vehicle, and that's about it.
Yeah.
That's about it. A car charger, of course, which I'm assuming he already has because he has an Android tablet that they're already doing this kind of work on. So,
Yeah.
anything else, Greg, you want to add?
Nope. Sorry I didn't recommend the Anchor sooner. Should have been there.
No. Well, you got it in. You got it in. So, and I think that's a good choice. So, 512 iPad Pro with cellular and the Anchor
PowerConf.
the Anchor Power Conf, and a mount or a stand or something that'll go into the vehicle, and yeah, you can work pretty easily with that. So,
Yep.
but anyway, thanks for your comment, and guys, any other questions or if you guys want us to walk through different options and stuff with you for your job or for your hobby or anything like that, you guys just throw it in the comment section. Let us know. Shoot us an email, message, text, or anything, and we'll be happy to answer it. So let's move on with the show, and we're going to jump into some of the things that we left off last week, and that was this Vision Pro experience that Greg had when he went, which was officially iPad Day in Greg's household. But on iPad Day, the Vision Pro got some attention too. So, Greg, did you leave the store with one?
I did not.
Womp
So
womp.
yeah, wah. And it wasn't that I was disappointed. So let me kind of walk through this. This will be quick, but I'm checking out on the iPads, and I asked, so because I could see somebody getting a Vision Pro demo. And by the way, the rumors are they're changing it up, and now if you want to go deeper, you can say, "Hey, I'd like to do the Mac." For example, the Mac screen share and stuff like that, they're changing some of that up. So I missed out on that part. So I might be going back for another demo. But
I didn't
anyway,
know they didn't allow that.
no, they don't right now. But Gurman's last week, his newsletter said they're going to start allowing people to get more in depth. So anyway, so I
Okay.
asked the guy that's checking me out on my iPad, and I said, "So when's the next Vision Pro demo?" He's like, "It's in 15 minutes." I'm like, "Okay, sign me up." Because I knew I was wandering the mall a little bit anyway. I wanted to go hit the Lego store, and then I needed food and then cheesecake, like I mentioned last time. So anyway, I wandered the mall for 15 minutes. I come back, and they set your glasses on this little stand, and they scan your prescription so that they can get the right lenses, and then they have you measure your head just like you were if you were buying one so that they can get the right size of light seal and all that kind of stuff. And mine actually was a little big. It probably needed to be one size smaller. There was a little bit of bleeding of the light through on the bottom, but he said that would be solved with a smaller light seal. So but it was it was pretty darn cool. I mean,
Which we knew
just
it
when
would be.
yeah, I knew it was going to be awesome, and I was maybe I'll jump to this part. I was worried I was going to want to walk out of the store with one of them, and I had prepped my wife for said scenario, and
Right.
so when they scan your glasses, right, they get you close to your prescription. But my
Yeah.
lenses have different strengths on the top and the bottom. So like if I look at the TV, I can't remember which is which, but actually, there I can tell. Like if I look at my trailer, the wording on the side of my trailer through the bottom half of my lenses, it's crystal clear. And then if I go up to the top, it
Mhm.
starts to get a little blurry, right? So I've got some help there on the distance stuff, and so they get your prescription close, but that wasn't quite right because even when I first got into it and it was just pass through and I was seeing everybody in the store, number one, you can tell it's camera and video, right? It's not as clear as just looking through a plain sheet of glass. Um, Two, it was a little blurry in the distance. So
Okay.
that that made it so I wasn't going to leave. That and the fact that I actually don't have a written prescription, which you have to send to Zeiss to get your lenses, right? I don't have that, and I actually need to go get a new set of glasses and all that kind of stuff. So I would want it to be my new prescription. So that's the biggest reason I didn't walk out of there with one. And I asked him, I said, "Can I go to Zeiss and tell them what my prescription is, and can they tell me if they can match my prescription perfectly?" Because I do have an astigmatism, so that kind of is a challenge too. But they said that Zeiss can fill like
Yeah.
97% of all prescriptions. So he said, yes, I could go to Zeiss. I could ask that. So that would be the first thing I would do before I purchase one of these. One, go to the doctor, get my new prescription. Two, make sure Zeiss can actually fill it.
Yeah.
Because
Check
it was
prescription.
just blurry enough in the distance that I would get a headache. I would get a headache trying to have my eyes do it. And I
Mhm.
don't think they would adjust over time. So,
Yeah.
but other
That's
than
something
that,
too, with the having a headache from having to focus and then the weight of having it on your head, it'll just be something that you would stop using.
yeah,
Um, outside of maybe recreation stuff. I can see that just, even subconsciously, like you just dread using it just to get, minor tasks and stuff
yeah.
done. Um, yeah, it has to be comfortable to be able to use it. So I can see
Yeah.
that.
I think I could deal with the weight because they just had the strap that's not the best one. They just had the fancy strap. That's what they demo you with instead of the one that goes over the top too. Um, but even in that 30-minute demo, my face was warm and sweaty. So, there's some
Yeah.
things you have to work through there, but that's all stuff that everybody's brought up. The tech was just phenomenal, right? I mean, the way I
Right.
trained my eyes, you look at these dots and pinch because that's the navigation, right? And it took me 0 time. You know how sometimes you can hand a screen to a little itty bitty baby and they know how to use it? It was kind of like that with the
Yep.
Vision
They
Pro.
just
Just
pick it
look
up.
and pinch and look and pinch. And I was sitting at a table and I kept my hands in my lap almost the whole time and it picked up my motion.
Right.
So it's not like you had to hold your hands up in front of you and stuff like that. So navigation was super easy, zooming in, zooming out, dragging screens around, navigating, selecting icons, all of that kind of stuff was crazy simple.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And then, just one more kind of wrap up thing that I had in my notes here before I talk about the quality, but when you get done, they send you a summary of what light shield you had, what um, band strap size you had, and all that kind of stuff, and with a big buy button. So you could just hit the
Yeah.
button and it'll put the package together for you. So,
Right. Right.
I mean, they did a good job with it. So, I'll say that, let
So
me say it
it's
this
good
way.
to hear.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I
Well, I'm saying,
think,
so it sounds you can sit comfortably. You don't have to sit, like you said, with your arms in the air to kind of
right.
pinch and navigate and things like that. So you can sit comfortably as you would sit while you're working and being productive and still be able to use it.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. So, and I think
Okay.
that's the key. So, the media stuff was cool, right? So I got to watch a few minutes of Avatar 3D, and
Okay.
that was pretty cool. But you know how when you go to, so I remember this. We went and saw Brendan Fraser's Journey to the Center of the Earth in 3D in theater, right? And
Hmm.
I remember some of the bugs and stuff coming at me and me jumping because I thought they were going to hit me. Well, my experience with the 3D movie in the Vision Pro was you could still tell where the screen cut, right? There was depth, but it didn't seem like it came clear out to my face, at least on the movie.
Okay.
In the dinosaur experience, that was a whole other thing because I was like holding out my finger and the butterfly was coming to land on my finger. So that was a little different. So, but I could
Yeah.
tell with Avatar that the the things swimming in the ocean weren't going to come any further than a certain point. And maybe they didn't have it set up. I didn't have it dialed in all the way or something like that. But the dinosaur experience showed what is truly capable of that from a media standpoint. That was cool. The fully immersive environments, like we went to Mount Hood, I think it was, and I'm just sitting on there and I wish I had a fishing rod, right? Because I could get the line out into the lake and sit on the edge of that and just fish for a while. And then it started raining and you could see it raining. And it's 360. I mean, I'm spinning in this chair looking the whole thing and I'm completely immersed in this environment. So that part was super cool. And that's what a lot of people have talked about being their thing.
Yeah.
I liked being able to kind of set up a little mini workspace. Now I didn't interact with a lot of the apps and stuff, but at one point I had an app over on my right, I had an app over on the left, I had one up above my head, and I had another one in front of me.
Okay.
That was super cool. And I think about, looking at maybe I have messages up in one place and email up in another place, and I'm editing a video or, writing something for a client or something like that. That to me
Mhm.
was the true potential, even without the Mac screen share, right? Just being able to do that kind of stuff. And now with the new version where it'll see the keyboard in front of you so you could actually see your keyboard, they didn't have the beta running on it and stuff like that. So I thought the promise of the productivity stuff, the potential that it has,
Mhm.
was everything I had hoped for.
Okay.
The watching
Well.
movies and stuff like that, maybe a little bit. Wasn't quite as good as I thought it was going to be. Um, Getting immersed in a panorama was pretty darn cool.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing that they're changing up is they're going to allow you to beam your own media to the Vision Pro when you go in for a demo now. So I could get immersed in one of my own panoramas or a spatial video that I shot and see it myself. So
Right.
that's a new change that they're making too.
So I was wondering that I didn't add that to my questions here, but I was wondering, did they let people, because people users with an iPhone 15, they're able to record spatial videos and stuff
Yeah.
like that. I was wondering, could you view your own videos that you recorded in the spatial video? So okay, cool,
Apparently it's
cool.
coming. It's coming. So that was good.
Okay,
So
so you
anyway,
can't
those
go as of now until they
no. Well,
make
I
the
don't know.
changes. Okay.
Gurman didn't say when they're making the changes, so at least I didn't notice it. So, if I had to rank the things, and then we'll get to your questions so we can wrap this up, but if I had to rank the stuff, the productivity promise was huge. The potential there for productivity, and that's without Mac. So if I add the Mac stuff in, especially the new one where you get these 8K worth of display, right, wrapping around you, which will be just like that big giant curved monitor that Jason wants. But
Yeah.
then you get that. I think the promise of the productivity was huge. Viewing my own panoramas and spatial video, because the birthday party and the balloon spatial video was fine, but I had no emotional connection to it, right? I think because I just
Yeah.
filmed the grandkids playing on the splash pad, I think if I saw that in Vision Pro, I would have that emotional connection. So number one, the productivity stuff. Number two is my own media, photos, panoramas, spatial video, that kind of stuff. And then number three for me would be, watching movies and some of those kinds of
Yeah.
things. That's probably how I would rank what I saw.
Okay. All right. So let's build on that then. Let's go right into these questions. How do you see this fitting into your life, like right now? Not next year, Greg, or Vision Pro Air, right? We heard they were working on a more inexpensive or cheaper version. They're fast tracking that. We're gonna assume it's gonna be called a Vision Pro Air. So not Vision Pro Air, Greg, not 2 years from now, Greg. If you were to get your hands on one right now, how would you use it now? Could you use that for your consulting client? Would we use it for the show, for the record some shows, or would you, how would you use it now?
I think I would try to use it for everything I use the iPad Pro for. So my morning study,
Okay.
my journaling, messaging, email. I mean, I have actually been using the iPad Pro a lot. My MacBook, um, what I use it the most for is doing some of our show stuff and checking some of the email accounts that I didn't put on my iPad Pro on purpose. So
Okay.
there's some of my company accounts that just don't have to be checked. It's the ones where I get all the newsletters and stuff like that, right? So I think I would. I think if my prescription had been perfect, I think there was a chance that I walked out of the Apple store with a Vision Pro and an iPad Air 11-inch
Okay.
instead of
Okay.
the iPad Pro 13.
Okay. So that was my last question, by the way, but you answered it already. So next question: could you see yourself? Well, I'm sorry. Were you done with
Yeah.
everything that you would use it for now? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next question is: could you really see yourself wearing this for a full work day? I'm talking 8 to 10 hours with normal breaks, of course, and lunch break and everything. So not 10 hours straight, not like Bridget Carey did when she got her demo. She wore it
Yeah.
for what it was a week straight, like
Yeah. Whatever it
24
was.
hours a day. She wore. So nothing extreme like that. But let's say you get up 8 in the morning. Can you put this on your face and work till 5 o'clock in the evening with normal breaks and stuff like that, and handle all of the work, everything you do for your clients now, um, chatting with me and family and everyone throughout the day and stuff like that, taking phone calls and things. And I know not everyone is going to be a FaceTime video call and all of that, but would you be able to get through an entire workday now
Yeah. I
with the
mean,
Vision
Teams
Pro?
and Zoom calls would be tough, mostly because
Mm-hmm.
um, I think they're supported, but I don't think you'd want, especially if I had to do video, right? I don't have to do video on a lot of my calls. It's mostly audio, so you could
Okay.
probably get by with something like that. The speakers on the side were okay. I don't know how the microphone would sound, I'd probably just use my AirPods Pro, right, and then not have to worry about the Vision Pro speakers or the microphone. So I think the video calls would be tough. I think most everything else I do, with the exception of working in the software platform for one of my clients that I do, right? I think most everything else I'd be fine. I don't know if my head and neck could build up enough stamina to be able to do it that long. I think that would be the thing. It's heavy, like the AirPods Max are heavy compared to, a pair of plastic headphones cans, right, over the years. So I think that would be the hard part. Could I do all the other work that I do on it? Absolutely. Freeform I've been using a lot lately, writing up specs, building manuals, a lot of that kind of stuff. Yes, absolutely, I could get all of that stuff done. And then, of course, I've got Mac pass-through, which I haven't even explored. So could I do the editing for the show on it? Yeah, I could do all that kind of stuff. I think the question is, this goes back to our roots. Do I want it, and do I want to justify it and do it just because it's a gadget and I want to try and make it work? Or am I just about whatever tool is best for the job? Because I don't think as a tool it's best for the job yet.
Right. I think we both said that um, several times in the past whenever it came up. We know that this is going to be the way in the future. It's just not ready now, especially when we have so many other tools to get the job done quick and easy. It just seems like extra steps to get something done in style. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So until it gets to that point where it's absolutely necessary, it's more of a luxury than it is a necessity. So
Yep.
um, so you already answered this question, but considering all that, not that we heard from the community, all of the people who demoed it, all of the stuff that they said were negatives and the downside of it, and you mentioned your prescription lenses and stuff. With putting all that aside, um, and remember, friend of the show and an avid listener, Tim Cook, he listens in every week. What could Apple have done at that point in the store to make you walk out with one? Was there anything, or was there anything, not necessarily, was there something they can do? Was there anything that they could do to make you walk out with one?
I think just because there's a ton of promise for it. I mean, they didn't advance it as far in
Mm-hmm.
2.0 as I thought they would, right? So I think there still needs to be more features, but overall, I think the biggest thing is it's so expensive, right? It just is,
Right.
and it's
Yeah.
Jack of all trades, master of none. Because my TV
Mm-hmm.
experience, if I have a big 75-inch TV, is going to be better to watch video on.
Right.
Native MacBook experience is still probably going to be better, unless I need a big screen and I can't have one in my trailer. My iPad's good for the things that it's good at. So it's almost like it's Jack of all trades, master of none kind of thing right now. And that's fine. I'd love to have it in my kit, but I just when it costs as much as my iPad Pro and my MacBook Pro put together, how do you justify it
Yeah. How do you justify
when
it?
there's no one thing that it's going to completely replace, right? So it's not going to replace any of my
Right.
devices. It would be an addition to, I mean, if the Apple Watch were $2,000, I'd have a much, much harder time because it doesn't replace anything, right? I still take my
Right.
phone with me on most things because I want to. In fact, I probably should consider getting rid of cellular, but I still take my phone with me because I want the camera, right? Yes, it does a much better
Yep.
job of tracking heart rate and all that kind of stuff, but I think they've priced it appropriately because you can get it for $400 if you really just want that kind of stuff. You and I go higher end on that,
Yep.
but it just doesn't replace anything. So I think I love that they're going there. I don't think it needs to replace other things, but I think it's got to come down in price before I think
Yeah.
people can really jump into it. So that would be the only thing.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking too. Um, I, considering if you would have said nothing, that was nothing they could have done. My suggestion would have been like, well, what if they would have offered you an awesome trade in, not just trade in value for your Mac, but like a specific. This is a trade up thing. Bring us your MacBook, and we'll give you, maybe 75% of the cost that you paid, because your MacBook is still less than a year old. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Would have tempted you? You stick with your iPad Air or your iPad Pro, and they say, "Oh, well, we'll give you this is a special trade-in. We'll give you 75% of your value of the MacBook." With something like that,
Maybe.
would have
Or
tempted you,
bundle something in, right? Say, hey, we'll give you an iPad Air if you buy
right?
this, that kind of thing. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, that's what I mean. Something special
yeah,
to to
maybe.
to make up for that price. Okay, all right. So that was pretty much all we have for today, folks. Thank y'all for listening. Let us know your experience with the Vision Pro, right? Did you go in, did you have a demo, or did they convince you to buy one and you've been using it at home for the last few months, right? We want to know these type of things, not necessarily from our tech peers that are doing tech reviews and working in the industry, but did you as a average Joe, did you buy one and take one home, and how have you been using it in your home in your daily life? Do you get a full 8 to 10 hour workday out of it? Do you use it for school or something like that? Or you're taking video calls and stuff? Let us know in the comments. We really appreciate it. We want to hear from, uh, um, the average users like us, not just the tech professionals or the reviewers and stuff. So um, that was all I had. Greg, do you have anything?
No, I think next week we're going to talk about more iPad conversation. And
Right.
we'll talk about what accessories I've hung on to, which ones I've returned, had some good experiences. And then I think next week we might start talking a little bit about trailer tech. So
Yep.
what
Yep.
we
Something.
need to do with my trailer, because I've got a few things that I am ready to pull the trigger on. So Jason's got a list.
Yeah. Yep. I've been putting together a list for some time, and it includes LED lights and stuff for the awning and security cameras and some locks and things like that. And Greg kind of pushed back on some things, but hey, we're going to check out the trailer, and of course he makes the final decision. So, but that's going to be a pretty cool episode for anyone that camps or thinking about getting a
We'll
trailer. There's some really cool stuff that
start the
we're going to
conversation.
include.
I have a feeling this conversation is going to
Right.
go on for a few months, because one, we're going to be adapting to living in it full time. And then two, there's also the prospect of a trade in on the trailer coming up. So one of the requirements I'm going to
Yeah.
have is, at least for the most part, everything has to be remove and take with meable. So
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
Temporary, not anything permanently put in. So I'll
Yep.
keep that in consideration. And some of the stuff too may be just for the future trailer and stuff anyway,
Yep.
the bigger
For
one.
sure.
But we'll
Yeah,
talk
that
that
we'll
through.
start
So
that
thanks
next
everyone for
week.
listening. Oh, yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. Thanks everyone. We'll jump to the next half of the show. Remember, we're doing our blast from the past. We're going to talk about the movies that turned us into geeks coming up. So stick around for that. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, everyone.